Hi, let's tackle another tough challenge to Christianity in a quick answer, which means it's going to be a really short episode. You can find more extensive information on the website, other places. But let's deal with the existence of God. I mean, that's the overlying issue that confronts people today. Is there or is there not a God? So let's just do 5 quick reasons why we think there's a God. There are many more. And what we're trying to do is build a cumulative case, so if one is not just a foolproof, knockdown, drag-out win, at least there are others that we can add to the list. So let's start with something as obvious as, why is there something here instead of nothing? For a long time, scientists had thought that the universe had always been here. And if it's eternal, then you don't need a God. But of course, in the 20th century, they finally discovered that the universe did have a starting point. Derisively, they called it at first the Big Bang. But scientists seem pretty sure that this is what happened, that there was nothing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes the entire universe in one point, in a flash of light. Well, doesn't that sound a lot like Genesis? Genesis says, from nothing, God created everything. And so even though sometimes some scientists are a little uncomfortable with that idea, we do believe the universe came from nothing. Something outside of matter, space, time, and energy had to create this universe. And I think the simplest and best explanation for that is God. He's the first cause to bring something into existence. If you have a Big Bang, you need a Big Banger. Something's got to strike the match and get this whole thing going. So there's one thing, the start of the universe. Here's another one. How about the start of life? So now you got a universe here, but the universe is hydrogen and all sorts of elements that gradually come about. How do you get those inert, dead things, these non-life forms, how do they come together and form life? Scientists are puzzled. Scientists have hit dead end after dead end as they've tried to come up with ways that you can get life from non-life. It's been extremely difficult. Life is so complicated. Even the simplest one-celled animal, incredibly complicated. And yet here we are. How did that come about? Well, it's either the most amazing set of circumstances that ever could have been imagined, or God started it. So we got 2 reasons right there. Here's a third one. I think this is a crucial one. It's the idea of design. So now you get life here, but then you look around, you look at that life, and you say, it is so complicated, it is so complex. You take little tiny bacterial cells. They're one-celled creatures that are so complicated. They're like cities. They can take care of their own trash. They have their own transportation system. They create their own energy. They can reproduce themselves. Try that with New York City. It doesn't reproduce itself very well. And all these things are going on without you having to think about them. On the small scale, what do we have? We have DNA. What's DNA? It's a computer code. It's a language. Bill Gates said the most complicated computer code ever. Does he know computers? Yeah, I think so. So you've got DNA on the small scale. That's a language. It's a book that's talking to us about how to construct a human being. So does this require unbelievably complex events to happen? Yeah. So on the small scale, there's design. What about the large scale, the entire universe? Well, they've found over and over again so many constants of physics have to be exactly right, or we don't get life here on Earth. For example, let's take the expansion rate of the universe. The universe is expanding, so that's how they knew at one time it was down to a single point. Now it's all over the place. So how did that universe expand? It had to expand at an exact, precise, careful expansion. It can't be like a grenade going off. It's fast enough so that it pulls matter apart so it doesn't stay in one big clump, but it's not so fast that matter can't later on clump together and form planets and stars and us. So that rate has to be just right. All sorts of things have to be just right. The Earth has to be exactly where it is. It has to have the right kind of sun. We have to be in the right kind of galaxy. On and on and on. The speed of light has to be exactly right. The polar gravity has to be exactly right. In fact, things are so finely tuned that one non-Christian, his name is Paul Davies, it's Arizona State University, he wrote a book called The Eerie Silence, and he said, I think we're it in the entire universe, not just here in the solar system, not just in the Milky Way galaxy. He says, I think we're it throughout the whole universe because life is so incredibly complex. So there are 3 reasons. Start of the universe, start of life, design. These 3 argue out loud for the creation coming about because of God. Let's do two more really quickly. One is the idea of morality. How do you get morality from just rocks and hydrogen gas and a sun and things like that? How does the natural world create a sense of oughtness, things that we ought to do? It doesn't happen unless there is some, well, let's put it this way. Every law requires a lawgiver. There are objective moral laws that we all know we should be doing. Therefore, there must be an objective moral lawgiver. It does no good to say we're the lawgivers, because who says? Who pointed you? And so you see there's a problem if it's just among the human beings. We need an exterior standard, something that's outside of us that we can then match our behavior up to. Otherwise, we're just doing it by passing laws, and those laws change, and we're in a quagmire unless there is a standard, objective standard beyond us, and that would be God. Fifth thing to consider is consciousness. A huge puzzle. In fact, it's sometimes called the problem of consciousness. Why is it a problem? It's a problem for people that don't think there's a God. How do you get matter of the universe to all of a sudden be self-aware? There's nobody's figured that out. It's incredibly complex. So those are the five, and I would add some more later, but because of time, we'll keep it short. 5 reasons we think there's a God: because the start of the universe, the start of life, the complexity of everything that's alive, design this in the universe. Fourth would be morality, and fifth is consciousness. So I hope this is useful. And again, go to my website. I have an extended talk on this